have you given direction as to what staff can do, or like where are you involved in this?
Staff did participate in the site meeting last February, and Grace and I have exchanged email just to clarify some of the details because I was not involved at that time. So my involvement to this point has really been a couple communications with Grace, and then what you see in the report here. So I've assessed it from an operational standpoint, and then from the issue of protecting our road allowance, and that's how I've developed our recommendation to this.
So for our guys to go out there and do things,
yeah, what I put in the report is I estimated it'd probably take about 3 staff, 3 days to do what's needed, so to remove trees and level the ground. So between staff and equipment costs, we're estimating that would be an in-kind donation of around $4,700.
Okay. And so if we go ahead and do it, because I mean, Ipperwash does definitely need some sprucing up, it would certainly do some positive things down there. Where will any monies come from the municipality? Because we didn't budget for it. We didn't put any monies into our budget.
Yeah, at this point in time, I'm just what we're saying is it would just be costed as a regular day-to-day operating cost. So we, rather than schedule those 3 staff to be out doing something else on those 3 days, we dedicate them to this project.
So would he be involved though from the point of view of, because it is our road allowances and stuff like that, would we have somebody down there doing some of this?
What I've put in the recommendation is that council support this subject to a couple conditions. One for sure is protecting our road allowance and making sure there's nothing permanent in there, and then also protecting the site triangle of the intersection. So at that point in time, if approved, Grace and I would communicate and ensure that we come forward with, we calculate the site triangle and say, this is your restriction, you can't put anything in this area.
It's all in the report. It'll in the report for recommendation. Councillor Monson.
Just a question, and I guess through you to the staff, I'm not sure. From a procedural standpoint, we can approve this in principle, but we don't have the right to approve it because we don't own the land. So I'm just wondering, from a procedural standpoint, is this going to be deferred until your discussions with MNR? And
yeah. We're not doing anything until we get encroachment agreements. If we don't have the encroachment agreements, it doesn't go any further.
So but we need that clearly in the motion. Right?
It's in the recommendation.
Yeah, that needs to be clear.
Yeah, I think that's what I've asked for, is that we only deal with our property.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dag, second.
Yes,
Please do it again.
The motion has been passed, which is independent of what the recommendation is in the report, which isn't quite, it wasn't detailed. It was just basically to support the project. And so there's conditions here that.
That's what the first line in the motion.
Yes.
That's what I agree.
That's
Let's get it going, because that's all we can do.
Okay, because the
All we
motion
can
that
do
was
is support
just
this
presented.
proposal that Brent provided. That's all we can do at this point.
That's good. So I want to be sure that's the recommendation.
Let's get to yes.
We're moving the recommendation, which supports the project going forward. All in favor of that? Carried. Gotta get that in there quick. Sorry. 7:25. A little bit. We should have started earlier. Carl Belke, South Cut Pines Park Association, we have Great Lake Guardian Community Fund, and there's a report with that. Carl, come up to the table, and page 128 is the report. Welcome, Carl. And
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
if you make your presentation, we have the information.
Members of council. I'm going to assume that you've read my brief synopsis in the agenda, so I'm going to just get right to the chase. And I'm here to request that the municipality become a contributing financial partner in a grant application to the Great Lakes Guardian Community Fund by the South Cut Pines Park Association. The project will follow up on Golder's groundwater testing in Zone 3 to measure the chemical impact of septic systems on Lake Erie. The study will be conducted by Dr. Will Robertson, who is a professional hydrogeologist and research associate professor in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences at the University of Waterloo. In fact, he is one of the experts that provided comments on Golder's results in the ad hoc committee's report. When Dr. Robertson made his assessment, he outlined further studies that should be done in order to obtain a more comprehensive and accurate value that were found. These suggestions then became the basis of the grant application that we put together. I just want to clarify a couple of points, and that is on timing and on necessity for this request. In terms of timing, this fund was initiated actually last summer by the Ministry of Environment. I worked with Dr. Robertson in developing a proposal last September, but we couldn't meet the application deadline with all the required documentation and approvals. I was told that the fund would be available again in about a year's time, and then I learned early March that the program was announced again with a deadline date of April 26th. So in mid-March, I received approval from the Southcott Board of Directors to proceed with the application. Then, just last Saturday, Dr. Robertson and myself held an information meeting for the members of Southcott as well as the public, where we described the projects and answered any questions. From the comments, and in the end, all attendees seemed to be in favor of the study. The decision on funding will not be announced until the fall of 2013, so that if this is approved, the study would not begin until sometime in September or October of this year at the earliest, and as late as May of 2014. The project must be completed by February of 2015. As far as finances are concerned, when we looked at the application last year, it seemed like all of our needs would be met. During the course of time from the first input and the recent one, the fund was modified since last year. Both overhead fees and travel expenses and accommodations are no longer funded or eligible for funding by the community fund. Since we're going to be relying on university equipment and staff to be used for this particular study, the university charges a flat overhead fee of 30% on the cost of the research grant and on services supplied by the university. In addition, 4 university personnel, 2 staff, 1 graduate student, and Dr. Robertson will be part of the project. They will have to travel from Waterloo to Grand Bend. Initially in the grant proposal budget, they had just simply put in travel time and costs without putting in any accommodation. Their idea being going back and forth as required. It is estimated that the field work will take approximately 5 days. These expenses, however, can be reduced if I am successful in obtaining in-kind accommodation from Southcott residents, and if it's in the fall or in the spring of the year, this might well be the case. I'll attempt to secure such a commitment from a resident at our annual general meeting, which is at the end of June. Okay. I can answer any questions you have about that aspect or any other project.
Councilor Scott.
Will this be used at all for an MA thesis or a PhD thesis?
Yes, there'll be a master's student that'll be.
So it'll be publicized and it'll be part
It'll
of,
be put in a scientific journal that is peer reviewed.
so we would then become sort of a gold star place having something written about us.
We would be identified, yes.
Yes, we would be identified.
Councilor Underwood.
Yeah, is there any future potential, like if we do this year, any future potential for different areas? Can this grow into different areas of research throughout the Lambton shores, our entire coastline down the road, or is this specifically?
No, I think what we'll find here will apply all along the Lake Huron shoreline.
Because we need data.